So for my mind map, I research language impairment exceptionalities. I use the OTF website to conduct research in areas of need for students learning with language impairment exceptionalities. So areas include like anger management skills, articulation skills, attention skills, listening skills, metacognitive skills, processing, self-advocacy, self-esteem, social skills, task initiation, time management skills, and verbal ability. An observation that I found that was very important was that most teaching strategies for each need that could accommodate students with learning language impairment exceptionalities blended in with one another in the sense that one teaching strategy wasn't just for one need, it could also work for other needs as well. Specifically, for instance, students who could create like small attainable goals instead of these huge, large goals, which can improve anger management skills, processing skills, self-esteem, and task initiation. So it wasn't just for one of those needs, but multiple. Connection that I found that was related in my research was my own experiences during placement. So during placement, I had a student, my grade 10 history class, who was living with autism. And he was a very hardworking and nice student, but who always came to school with a positive attitude. But one thing that I didn't know going in, especially my first day, was that he also was living with anger management um, uh, issues as well. And my AT let me know after my first day about it, and I was shocked because the student would always come to his class very positive and very happy. But I could see the improvement in terms of how well the EA and the AT were working together to ensure that he was in a safe working environment. So he was able to work with students in the class, and we would work together as a team as well. But we didn't. Like one thing that I really liked was that the classroom was very inclusive, so everyone was treated fairly, and it was very nice to see. And a surprise that I found was learning that about the different tech tools and how many there were that could be used to accommodate learning impairment exceptionalities. And I actually found a Pinterest website where it's an online curation website where you have different posters and picture charts that help teachers trying to find new ways to help students with language impairment exceptionalities. One question, lastly, that I like to leave off with is in terms of language impairment exceptionalities, could we expand the tech tools to the whole classroom environment to promote inclusion, not just for the student who's living with the language impairment exceptionality? That's one thing that I personally am thinking about because from placement, what I saw that how students that were living with language impairment exceptionality, they weren't separated, but they were together in a group with everyone else. So I want to see what ways could we use as teachers for the whole classroom in terms of tech tools to use. And yeah, and my mind map just basically shows I used different colors. The blue represents language impairment exceptionality, and the red is the specific needs that need to be addressed for each student. In black is the teaching strategies that teacher could use, and then in pink is the tech tool that could be used as well. So I have around 6 tech tools specifically, and at the bottom I have my works cited list as well. That's my presentation. So I'll send things off to Amanda.
Okay, so I chose to focus on speech and language disorder. So I'm just gonna go off again. So I put one observation that I saw when researching speech and language impairments was the amount of support and digital technologies provided to assist both teachers and students with speech speech and language exceptionalities. The adjustments that a teacher must make within their classroom are relatively minimal and do not necessarily affect the entire flow of the classroom. These adjustments can include not compelling a student to speak up in class unless speech is required within the course. So what I mean by this is don't pressure a student to come up in front of the class and do a presentation. Try thinking of how you can accommodate the students. The ways of doing that based off of technology is having the child do it on their own in their bedroom or in a safe environment where they can record themselves, both audio or just their voice. And they can record themselves and then give this to their teacher and play it back. And that would be how they've done the assignment rather than going up in front of the class. What I said by this is that we've been learning the right to pass. So each child has the right to pass. And we shouldn't be pressuring the student to speak in front of an audience if they're not comfortable, especially if they have a stutter. I also talked about that there are many different routes an educator can do in making adjustments to the classroom and teachings to better support students with speech impairments. One connection I made was how one student's impairment can affect the classroom dynamic. So in my recent placement, I had a student with diabetes, and you would never think that diabetes would affect the classroom dynamic so much in the entire classroom environment. But it really does. Like, the student required a nurse to come in 4 times a day, and DPA needs to be done 3 times a day. So we would need to stop all the students, have them get up and do movement activities, dance revolution, etc. And I think this just goes based off of students with speech impairments as well. So just one student can really change the entire dynamic of a classroom. So if you have a student with speech impairment, you could have colors. I was in a classroom again once where a student was very sensitive to loud noises. He was autistic, and so loud noise really threw him off and disrupted him. So whenever the bell would ring, the student would get really upset. So that teacher had the bell muffled within their classroom. They covered it so it wouldn't be so loud, and they used different colored signs to say when recess or when it was lunch within the classroom. So it's just different ways that teachers can accommodate these students. One surprise was the vast amount of technology and support provided for students with speech and language impairments. So if you look above, I put app and technology tools here at the top of the screen. It's just different ways in which technology supports these students. So based on organization, there's an app where it can help organize the student based on their homework using pictures and a schedule. Communication, so this does it text to speech, so it can read out for them if they have trouble reading, and then as well as the writing, so they can speak into the system and it comes out for them and writes everything out for them, so it's not as difficult. And then my questions is, are apps replacing the way we deal with these exceptionalities, or are they helping reduce the issues with exceptionality? And that is the question that I'm leaving off with. And then I'll pass it on to Andrea.
Great, thank you so much. So as you can see, I did not use Poplet. I used something called text to mind map. One thing I did want to say is that our approaching free record limit is it's saying we only have 21 seconds. So I'm just going to pause it right now and then do a continuation.